See, there are churches and then there's Alpha and Omega. There's an anointing and then there's Apostle Esther Agiri. Only the anointing can break the yoke. Some might say, Sister, you should have been praying. I was. Or maybe you should have been fasting, but I fasted too. Or, well, what about giving? No one gives like me. I was doing all this, and all hell was breaking loose in my house. It's been over 8 years ago. I was attending another church, and a church member of mine told me about this ministry. It was about that time when there was one of the conferences was going on, and so we attended together. We attended. It was one of the ministries, one of the ministries that was going on, and we attended a conference. And at that time, my son was 13, 12, going 13 years old, and he was having a lot of difficulties. And I think that's the reason why my friend introduced me to the church ministry, and I came for the conference. And then after that, I met with Apostle Esther, and I met with her in conference, and she asked me about my son, and I was wondering how on earth did she know I had a son, because I never mentioned it to her. And she told me specifically that to be very careful of my son because he was going to be involved in drugs. And I was just saying, because this is the first time I've seen her, never met her before. And I was just saying to myself, this can't be happening. This is crazy because my son is just 12 years old. I didn't say that to her, but I said it in my mind. And exactly what she told me happened. My son was coming from school and he was offered drugs and he took it. And then that's when the trouble started. My son started going off with bad friends, doing what he was not supposed to do, getting in trouble in school. He was diverted to two alternative school consecutively. First time he spent about 4 months, and then as soon as he went back to his regular school, he went back and got in trouble again, went back to alternative school 2 consecutive times in 1 year. And this was what was happening. There was no peace in my house. He was very belligerent, wanted to fight and argue every day. This is what was happening. And so I decided to take him to Apostle. And we took him here, and Apostle spoke with him, anointed him, prayed over him. And she told me exactly what t-shirts to buy. I can never forget. The first t-shirt I bought for him was Holy Ghost Fire. I bought one for myself, one for him, and I told him to wear it, and he wore it consistently. We bought our salt, we bought our anointing oil, we bought everything that she asked us to buy, and we used them. And this young man was he believed. I didn't have to force him to wear it. He wore it like a glove. He wore it, and I'm telling you, in that time when I came 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago, I was working. I was a professional, but couldn't see my money. I was barely able to buy the 2 shirts. It was a sacrifice for me. The least expensive thing that I bought here when I came was the salt. But I bought everything and religiously used it. And this happened from 2012, I believe, all the way up until now. And I love this little word, was. That was a picture of my son when he was going through all his trials and tribulations. I can't even bear to look at that picture right now because that was him in affliction. I'd sent him to spend 2 weeks with a relative, and he came back a changed child. An apostle also mentioned that as well and cautioned us to stop trusting relatives, because I could not even believe exactly what she told me would happen to him did happen to him. So we fought. We used everything she told us to use. We prayed on the prayer line. I've never missed a day. My son either. Apostle prayed over him. Apostle watched over him like a hen. She would text, she would call, she would ask how is her son. I would be in the sanctuary and she would get a word for him, and she would just reach out to me and tell me what to do when I go back home. Sometimes she would put oil in my hand and ask me to go home and anoint his stuff because something was happening. This is what she has been doing continuously. We were in this very same sanctuary. He and I, and the rest, we were having prayer meeting, and she called him up and said there were two boys after him, and she anointed him and said they will not get him. And 2 weeks later, my son attended their vigil. They were killed. Yes, this is true. So I'm telling you, this is how she watched over him. Now all of this happened, and I see so many changes in his life, in my household. There were no more fuss. It's almost like the spirit of conflict was sucked out of my house. And it was an everyday thing before we met Apostle. And he got through to go to the university. Before he went, he said, I have to come and see Apostle. Because he had one discipline he wanted to study. But he said, Ma, I need to see Apostle to see exactly what I need to do. And he came to her and she told him, civil engineering, this is what you have to do. It's my background on my phone right now. This is a picture of hope, a picture of happiness. Before then, my son never smiled. Look how gorgeous he is in that smile. This is my son now. After all of the tribulations, after all that Apostle and this great ministry, Alpha and Omega, has done for him. See, I've never seen such a more faithful young man. When I go to the university right now and I want to sweep anywhere, he said, Ma, don't sweep anywhere. Salt all over. He uses salt for everything. He wears his t-shirts unashamedly. He does everything. His anointing oil, prayer line, spray. We do that. And this is a product of Apostle Esther's vigilance over my son. She calls him his son. See, she gave birth to one biological son, but she has hundreds, thousands. My son is one of them. I call my son her pet. I've never seen anyone who reach out to my son like that. And the feeling is mutual because he loves Apostle so much. Third year civil engineering student. I just called him a couple of days ago and he passed all his 3 tests. Before that, he was failing every test at high school, middle school. He said, Ma, I passed all my tests. This fall, he's going to embark on his 4th year, his final year, civil engineering. He just reached out to a couple of companies for internship. 6 so far has reached out to him, and he has refused one because he said it would take him to Atlanta, Georgia. He did not want to leave Houston. So he's still hoping that he will, get an internship with the right one. For him, everything is coming up roses. He's happy. You see the picture. He's smiling now. He's making money. He's a barber at school, so he's cutting so much hair. And this young man is so happy right now and full of life. As for me, his mother, I broke the back of poverty when I started giving to this ministry. My earnings have not just doubled, it has grown 4 times. I'm telling you. And I'm just about to sign a $2.5 million contract with the state of Texas. Annual contract with the state of Texas. Apostle prophesied about it a year and a half ago in church. I never spoke a word to her And she told me exactly what I was going to do. And this is exactly what I'm doing right now, what I'm embarking on. And she told me that destined helpers were going to help me. And this is exactly what is happening. So my life has turned completely around. My son's life has turned completely around because of this ministry, because of the product. We have had protection. I can't even tell you how many protection I've had. So many near misses for accident. Nothing sticks. It doesn't stick. Inconsistency lies the power. We just did what she told us to do. That's all we did. We used her products. And anybody who thinks they can just buy a bottle of anointing oil tonight and it starts working tomorrow, they don't know the idea. You have to be consistent. Man, if I could bottle all of those empty bottles of anointing, I could make a small fortune. This is my 8th year. So I'm not just coming up. She's known him and she's been laboring with him for over almost 8 years. And I'm happy to say today that this is a product of Alpha and Omega and Apostle Esther Agiri. See, there are churches and then there's Alpha and Omega. There's an anointing and then there's Apostle Esther Agiri. Only the anointing can break the yoke. Some might say, sister, you should have been praying. I was. Or maybe you should have been fasting, but I fasted too. Or, well, what about giving? No one gives like me. I was doing all this and all hell was breaking loose in my house until I found the woman of God. And she made such a change in my life. An amazing change. And God has just, her name synonymous with Esther, has just appointed her for such a time as this. Just one family. Can you imagine? She created such a change in one family. If people would only believe her and not take her for granted and just do what she says. Buy her products, just do it. They'll get the result that I got. She gave me my son back. And I'm so very happy. Peace in my house. Money in my hands. I don't have to swipe and pray anymore. No debt. Nothing missing. Nothing broken. I'm driving my dream car. Fully paid for. Giving away stuff that I've never given away. Because of this ministry. How do you know it's this ministry? Well, before I was given before. Thousands. If I could find what I gave before to other ministries, I'd be a millionaire today. But I'm headed there. But once I start giving to this ministry, the back of poverty was broken over my life. Fear was gone. Conflict was gone. Everything was just coming together for me. All because of here. And I just want to give God thanks for her.